evening, everybody. I'd like to call the executive session of the Sparta Planning Board to order by reading a resolution of the Planning Board. Executive Session Resolution Number 2025-4, decided and adopted March 5th, 2025. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Planning Board of the Township of Sparta, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussions of an action upon the hereinafter specific subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows: contract negotiations. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter will be made public when deemed appropriate. The resolution shall take effect immediately. Do I make a motion to go into executive session? Would somebody like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have Rob Otto on the phone. He's ill, but he's joining us. So
Hey, Rob,
thank you,
feel
Rob.
better.
All right, so what? No. Or I guess, yeah, we could do it.
Okay, we're live.
All right, could we have a motion to go out of executive session, please?
My motion?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Very much appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gave us a lot to think about.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, you gotta do a lunch. You do.
Just gonna give out a little homework here.
Thank you.
Welcome. No, that's a good idea. We'll just go down two pieces.
Okay.
One. One. Two. Right.
One more.
One more.
Thanks.
What's that?
Okay, just a quick question.
Yeah, you know what?
I was like, I wonder if Ron's got like a membership or something. I was conflicted because you mentioned it.
I'm working, I'm still trying to work a deal. They're so busy down there. It's like,
There today.
were you?
Well, I worked right there, so I just.
Don't worry, there's no test.
I wanted lessons. The only lesson I could get was a Friday at 5 o'clock, which is like terrible.
Yeah.
But they've got leagues starting up, so I may have to go somewhere else. I'm gonna go back and talk to the guy. But, that's what I get for waiting. You know?
That works. Okay.
It's
Oh,
great
thank you,
loss
sir.
out, Ron.
Yeah.
Thank
you're
you.
right. How's it going, Corey? Hey, Catherine.
Joan Furman.
Joan, I know you wish to
Hi, Corey, I'm Rob Bleakley. Nice to meet you.
Corey, sir, good to see you.
Brian.
Ernie?
Corey. Hi, Corey.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for waiting, everybody.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you for your patience with us. On behalf of the members of the Planning Board and our professionals, I would like to welcome you to tonight's meeting of the Sparta Township Planning Board. This meeting is being held on March 5th, 2025, at the Sparta Township Municipal Building located at 65 Main Street in Sparta. Proceedings of the meeting are being live streamed on YouTube at www.youtube.com/@SpartaTWP. The time is now 7:19, and this meeting is now called to order. Please note that no new business will be conducted after 9:30 p.m., and the session will end at 10 o'clock. Please stand and join the board as we proudly pledge our nation's flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dory, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Jeanette Burke. Here. Ernie Ragsdad.
Here.
Brian Zimmerman.
Here.
Ron Day.
Here?
Chairwoman Joan Furman.
Here.
Councilman Mark Scott.
Here.
Robert Bleakley.
Here.
Vice Chairman Robert Otto. Here. Les Luciano. And Christine Dunbar.
Thank you. We're going to move around our agenda a little bit. because we have a land use training session, but I know we took some time in the beginning with our executive session. So we will move that till after we hear the application from Green LLC. But I would like to,
Jill?
yes,
Sorry, I don't see a live stream. I just want to double check that on your end.
okay.
You have to switch to the other. There's two that are set. You're on the wrong one.
Okay, thanks, bye.
You're welcome.
Is he still on the phone, though?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay.
All right, I didn't realize there was two.
Good.
Mistakenly, correct.
Okay. The other thing I would like to change around is one of the resolutions. I'd like to introduce Mr. Kenneth Porro, who is our new planning board attorney. We're very lucky to have him. He comes with more than 30 years of experience in land use and has represented multiple planning boards, zoning boards, special tax appeal council, municipal council, and he's written numerous legal articles. And as I said later, he's offered to serve to give a training session for us. He served as a trainer for the state of New Jersey, teaching the required planning and zoning board courses for all new volunteer members. And so we have the benefit of that coming up later. But just to formalize everything, I'd like to take that resolution for Ken. We did vote him in at the last meeting, and I'd just like to memorialize it. So as we go forward, that's all in place. So if somebody would please make a motion for Resolution 2025-6.
I make a motion that we accept 2025-6.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please, Dory?
Robert Blakely,
Yes.
Jeanette Burke,
Yes.
Ron Day,
Yes.
Ernie Ragsdad,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Scott,
Yes.
Brian Zimmerman, Vice Chairman Robert Otto.
Yeah.
And Chairwoman Joan Furman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so next we'll have our public hearing, which is Planning Board number 24-727, the Green 973 LLC. If you would please come up and introduce yourselves, and our attorney will swear you in.
Joan, I got to recuse. I think so does.
Okay, just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4. Rob, you have to, you stay on the phone. We need you as a quorum.
Members, just for the record, your recusal is based upon,
I've got someone involved with the.
Ernie?
just quick, your conflict, your recusal, you have, is a low standard, but just,
I'm the president of the Sparta PAL. He's on the board, and we also hold our meetings at the season in his facility. So
that's a good enough, that's a good enough.
So you're in cahoots.
Thank you.
Chairwoman, would you like us to use these microphones?
Yes, please. We need them to, so that the live stream can pick it up.
Okay, oh, there we go. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. My name is David Gray, G-R-A-Y. I'm an attorney. I have a law firm called the Gray Law Group. It's on Route 15 in Jefferson Township. And I'm the attorney for the applicant, which is the Green 973 LLC. This applicant, this company, has two owners. John Trotta is here sitting to my left, and frankly is a little more comfortable with public speaking, so he will kind of present on behalf of the applicant. But the other owner of the company, Patrick McKernan, is here sitting behind us. Patrick is waving a hello, and he's here as well, of course, to contribute and to answer any questions as well that the board might have.
Can you just spell the last name so I can make sure it's?
Yes, Trotta is, so first name is John, J-O-N, last name Trotta, T-R-O-T-T-A, and John is here next to me. Patrick McKernan, capital M-C-K-E-R-N-A-N.
Thank you.
Jason Dunn is our planner. He's from Dykstra and will be testifying as well. And again, my name is David Gray. And I understand my speaking just as a summary is not sworn testimony, but just to give you a little bit of background of what you're going to hear and what this application is about. The Green 973 operates over a 10 Park Lake Road. And there's a building, it had 2 tenants in it at 10 Park Lake Road. The interior space is a little bit more than 8,000 square feet. The Green 973 currently rents a little more than 5,000 square feet of that space. And in this space, they have 7 golf simulators. We'll call them bays. And they offer indoor, it's technically indoor commercial recreation is the use. This is in the economic development zone. And what they do is they offer this, they offer these bays to the public. Public can make reservations. You'll hear more about this, but these guys are technologically advanced, much more than me. But you reserve space for a bay online. I guess you could do it on the telephone, but most people do it online. You have to reserve your space, and a bay will accommodate 4 people. They have a maximum of 4 hours of time. And you can go to the bay and you bring your clubs and you can hit a golf ball into the screen, and it tells you, if you're like me, how bad you are at playing golf. But it's a supplement to, you know, your golf game. You'll hear a little bit about one of the bays has not just the ability to hit the golf ball into the screen, and they'll tell you how, you know, you have all the different golf courses in the world on it and all that good stuff. But one of the bays has some other games on it that can be played as well. And that comes in handy when SCARC comes and uses the facility, and they have some other local nonprofits that come, and maybe not everybody wants to play golf, but what the business is at the heart of it, it's a golf simulation service. There is a counter for lack of a better word, a pro shop where they sell some golf accessories. Somebody needs a golf glove or something. So there's a little bit of sales there, but that's just an accessory thing for the people playing golf. And the way it operates is a little bit of a common area, 7 bays. They have 4 hours of time, then they leave, new people come in, and you block out your time online. So what happened is the neighboring tenant was a computer, did something with maybe doing something with computer product, but he left. He's no longer a tenant. And the opportunity came up for these guys to take over that space, and they made a business decision for various reasons, which you'll hear about, that it would make sense for their business to do that. And I would note that their business on March 11, or 2 successful years in business as of March 11 here in Sparta. And you'll hear a little bit more about how the space intends to be used. You'll hear a lot more about the parking and the parking situation from both the owners of the business and the planner. So that's a little bit about what you're going to hear tonight. And at this time, I would ask that Mr. Trotta perhaps be sworn in, and we can get going with his testimony.
Try to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and business address for the record.
My name is John Trotta, Jontrotta, and our business is located at 10 Park Lake Road in Sparta, New Jersey.
And John, just to move things along, you heard the introduction that Mr. Gray gave here today.
Yes,
Can you affirm that the testimony, if he was to ask you those questions, you would answer them exactly as he presented it?
yes, I will.
Okay, thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much, sir. And just speak into this because people are listening online. Mr. Trotta, where do you live, sir?
So I live in Sparta, New Jersey, right at the top of Glen.
And you're an owner of the Green 973 LLC?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And that's a business that started 2 years ago here in Sparta?
Nearly to the date, next week.
Oh, March 11, right? March 11
March
it will
11,
be.
yep.
Okay. And we're March 5 now. Can you explain a little bit about what the business is, what it provides to customers?
So this technology overall has advanced so much throughout COVID, especially. And golf was one of the sports that has seen a tremendous amount of growth due to the lockdown and all of the parameters around that shutdown. So throughout that time, golf simulator businesses started popping up throughout the country. And as an avid golfer myself, and as I met Patrick throughout the last several years, we actually ended up having the same idea of opening this indoor golf facility. I grew up in Vernon, so I'm a local guy. I went to Sussex Tech, so right down the road, and there was always a local driving range right around the corner. And that's where I learned my game in high school. I continued to play in college. And this business offers a safe community and environment for golfers of all skill levels to come in and hit real golf balls. So it's not gimmicky by any sense in terms of hitting foam balls like I used to do in my yard when growing up, or like little wiffle balls. So you're actually hitting real golf balls in the simulator in a 15 by 15 bay. We only allow one golfer per shot and swing inside that bay, just of course due to safety reasons. And as you hit this golf ball, there's a camera system overhead that is pretty much reading via camera-based system and telling you everything you wanted to know about that golf shot. So the spin on it, where it's going to go, left or right. It gives you a lot of valuable data that, as a golfer, you can use to improve your game. And even for the newer golfers who are a little bit more afraid to go out into the course or into a driving range, which really there aren't many close ones nearby. That business offers a controlled setting to play golf inside, regardless of the weather.
And Mr. Trotta, I know you operate the business with Patrick McKernan. Can you explain to the board a little bit about your role versus Patrick's role and how the business is operated?
Yeah, it ended up actually being a really great yin and yang. I run a marketing agency, so it's all remote. Most of the business, small to medium-sized businesses that I support, they're just looking for online marketing and systems to support lead generation to drive business and, of course, more revenue. So my role coming in with that experience over the last 10, 11 years was definitely vital for such a social-based sport and social-based business. So within our partnership, Patrick, he owns a couple storefront businesses, so he has the more experience from an operational standpoint. I don't have any really employees in my business. However, he does have tons of scheduling to do, lots of jobs to send people to. So he brings in that side of the partnership there. So we really do complement everyone. I unfortunately get labeled as the tech guy. So that's my role in this business.
Okay, can you explain how many employees your company has and how they work?
Yeah, so we have 6 to 8 part-time employees, and there's a range because several of them are local students, whether they go to Sparta High School or any nearby local school. And with sports coming in, especially, for instance, one of our employees is on the ski team, so he's not going to be around during the wintertime. So it will fluctuate between part-time, those 6 to 8 employees. And Patrick does all the scheduling for them. We do it on a weekly basis since we try to offer some flexibility for our part-timers. And they scheduled in anywhere between 4 to 6 hour shifts during the peak times that we have. Naturally, weekends are a little bit busier just because everyone's not working during the day. Most people are not working during the day, so sometimes we staff 2 people on at a time, but most cases there are always only 1 staff member on site.
Okay. And Mr. Trotta, how did it come about that this space opened, and what's the business discussion that you have and the reasons behind wanting to expand your business into the neighboring spot?
So we had a really great relationship with our neighbor. It was one single guy just working with computer hardware systems, and we developed that relation back and forth and stayed in touch with him even after he left. But he had indicated that he was going to be leaving. He just didn't need a space that size. And so we knew immediately that we wanted to expand into that additional spot next to us just because, honestly, just because we didn't really want another business to go in there. We needed the space, and as we were talking about the structure and what sort of offerings that we were looking to do, we found, especially during our winter season is prime season. Naturally, everybody's inside, unless you have the luxury of being able to travel to Florida and play golf. Most people are going to be sticking around, stuck inside, and they're not going to be able to swing. So we found that our common waiting area tend to have some congestion. And like David mentioned before, we have 4 players maximum per bay. On average, most of our bookings and reservations are 2 to 3 golfers only. We rarely do actually see full foursomes come through. And with those 7 bays, there may be some during the turnover of reservations. Since we control the schedule, we know who's coming in. Let's say at 6 p.m., there's 4 bays starting. We noticed that there was some congestion within our little waiting area that we had. So as we looked at that opportunity next door, we realized there's some additional space that we can help spread out some of that congestion. And the reason why it gets so crowded, some people come up with some monstrous golf bags. Even the slim bags that you'll see if you're carrying them when you're playing outside, they still take up a lot of space. So as we looked at that next door space, we just really wanted to extend our common waiting area. Additionally, we do have a small little pro shop in our lobby area at the front entrance, and that additional space will also help us expand our club offerings. We do have some club sales coming through our facility. So looking at it and seeing that opportunity open up, to be able to take advantage of it and help produce obviously more revenue for us and expand more opportunities. We really just wanted to improve customer experience and customer value as well.
Mr. Trotta, are you intending on adding any additional bays inside your space?
No, we're not.
Is there any intention on expanding your current marketing or how you put your business out to the public?
Nope. We just would like to continue to have golfers come in to use our bays, so there would be no change on the marketing side.
So what your testimony is that there's really no change in the use of what you're doing or how your business operates now. It's really expanding the common area to accommodate, working around people's golf bags and whatnot.
Yes, correct.
And also, I guess you said to block out maybe another tenant coming in that might use up more things like parking spots. And
Yes, correct.
Okay, and I want to focus a little bit on the parking situation. We reviewed Mr. Simmons's letter, and I know we reviewed this. There's an ordinance that has a calculation that says, based on the calculation, you should have 11.2 spaces. Do you know how many spaces you have right now?
I believe it was about 30.
You have 30 spaces right now, right? And but the ordinance also says that you need to have 50 spaces, but you don't have 50 spaces, do you?
No, we don't.
Okay. How has the parking been in general at your facility?
So far, the parking has been pretty good, I think, for our customers. When we look at the bay usage and how many people we'd have at any given time, since we only allow max of 4 players per bay, with 7 bays, we're only looking about 28 players. So it may get a little busy at the time of, like I said, that turnover between reservations. But from our business standpoint, it's all about utilization. So on average, we're looking only about 60% utilization of the bays throughout the year. So it's never really going to be filled at any given point.
And Mr. Trotta, are you on site at the location often?
Yes, yeah, I'm there every morning. I drop my daughter off at school over at Ogdensburg, and I drive over I move my office over to the green. So I'm usually there between anywhere 8:30 to 2, 8:30 to 3, when it's time for me to unload my daughter from my mother-in-law or parents.
Have you ever seen the parking spaces filled up?
Only at the time, like I said, where all 7 bays were filled at one time. And we do have some leagues, especially with the women's league. Gets a little busy sometimes at that night. But as soon as that turnover completes, our goal is to get people playing as quickly as possible. So we really don't force anybody out, but we do make that shift very quickly. So only for that 5 to 10 minute turnover period, then it alleviates, and I don't usually see those filled at all.
Got it. Can you give a little bit of testimony about the groups that come in? Because I said in my testimony, you have, Sparta high schoolers and some other groups. Can you just briefly explain who your customers are that may use the business?
Yeah, we, aside from golfers, the weekend warriors or father-son groups, mother-daughter groups coming in to enjoy an hour or two at our facility, we recently partnered with SCARC. So SCARC comes in on a consistent basis. They'll bring their bus, their short bus into our parking lot with several aids, and all of our bays are handicap accessible, and especially like David mentioned, our base 7 has a multi-sport function, so they really like some of the non-golf games that they could participate in. And with that being said, we also have partnered with Piece by Piece, and just recently had Sparta High School, a group of Sparta High School students come in, enjoy our facility as well, with some of the teachers and aides from Sparta. So we just look to try to expand those partnerships. Our main goal was just to build a community. Golf is a lifelong sport. It's one that we hope to enjoy from, when you're young in high school, college, when you have your own kids, and then when you retire, they're having their own kids. My goal is to continue to play golf, and that's kind of what we would try to foster.
Got it. And Mr. Trotta, just to confirm, and we did submit a document with the application, but you have the landlord's approval to be making this application?
Yes, yep, we do.
And in fact, you already had negotiated a lease and whatnot.
Yes, yeah, we're just waiting for the approval process to go through, and we're ready to go.
Okay, a couple of specific questions that I'm going to ask you to testify about was mentioned in Mr. Simmons's report and addresses some legal issues in the town's ordinances. The town has a requirement or discusses in a portion of the ordinance about a loading dock. Does your business require any type of loading dock?
No, it doesn't.
Do you use a loading dock at this time?
No, we don't.
Okay. Do you intend to change any of the exterior lighting or anything about the lighting?
No, we do not.
You're a tenant and you have a lease now, right?
Correct.
Do you maintain the landscaping at all? You do the mowing the lawn and maintaining of the snow removal or anything like that?
No, we don't.
Do you intend on changing any of the landscaping? Is that part of your proposal?
No, we don't.
And right now, there's signage for your business, right?
Correct.
Are you making an application to change any of the signage at this time?
No, we're not.
Okay. And again, can you just maybe briefly explain what the interior would look like, with the understanding you have to comply with any construction permits and permitting requirements, but can you briefly explain what that common area you're going to use it as, what that would look like?
Sure. So to kind of give some context about our current facility, it's a wide open space, and then we have our individual bays throughout the 5,000 square feet, kind of set up in a square. Our goal was always to try to keep an open floor format. So we don't want anyone to feel cramped, especially when you're swinging golf clubs. You do need some space to be able to do that. And like I mentioned before, we do need space for gear, bags, everything that people are bringing in to play golf. So to look next door, we're looking to mirror that same concept. So just keeping everything open. We're not looking to change anything structurally. And again, to expand that common and waiting area, even if it's a father or mother who's waiting for her son to finish their lesson with one of our pros, just to be able to keep everyone comfortable. So it's gonna be nice and open. We're not gonna be changing anything structurally in the building, and we're just looking to try to keep comfortable seating. We have high top tables now, just to offer a waiting area for everyone to either wait for their tee time to come up and or to transition out and head on home.
Mr. Trotta, I'm going to ask you a question about a little bit of a specific technicality. It was mentioned in Mr. Simmons's report, and that is the percentage of the property that is impervious coverage. And what we've learned since getting involved in this is that it appears the building was approved, perhaps back in the day, with 40% impervious coverage, but we've now learned that it's actually, in real life, now that we look at it, 40.1%, right?
Correct.
And that's over the 40% cap that we're looking to do, right?
Yes.
So our proposal, and I need you to testify about this, is to if necessary, take out a parking space and remove the asphalt and replace it with a type of paver that is permeable in nature. And that would get you down to the 40%. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And did you discuss with Patrick about like which spot you would use and what makes the most sense?
Yes, we have.
Okay, and you're prepared to do that
Correct.
if the board finds it necessary for you to do that?
Yes.
Okay. But would you like to ask the board maybe for an exception to that requirement?
Yes. At this moment, I mean, our parking is obviously important, so having to rip up a spot would be less than ideal, but I would ask the board to consider an exception to that. Otherwise, we are, as David and I confirmed with him, we're prepared to make any changes necessary.
Okay, and I just want to hit on one more point. You testified about it, but I want to make sure it's clear, and that is the ability that you have to control your customers' traffic inside your building, okay? Because that is a unique ability that a business has. And how your online reservation system allows you to control the, foot traffic inside your building. Can you just explain how that online reservation system allows you to control the traffic, if you will, at your business?
Yes, absolutely. So just easily through our website, you can go on and take a look at what bay. Several bays have different seating compared to the others, whether you want lounge or couch seating. We have 2 bays that accommodate that. Otherwise, others have high top tables and a custom counter that were built to accommodate up to 4 players per bay. And at that point, you're able to look and see what's available, select how many hours you would like to visit us, and confirm payment. We do require payment before everyone comes in, so we do know exactly who's coming in. We have about a 99% show rate, so we know exactly and can control, especially if there's any support maintenance things that we have to take care of. We can also actually shut down bays and availability too to accommodate that. So looking at the overall system, it's a very easy front end customer and guest experience to quickly pick the bay that they would like, how many hours they would like to come for, and hit confirm and pay. And from our side, we receive notification of that. Our staff has access to that scheduling system at all times. So if someone is not comfortable doing it online, we do accept phone reservations as well. But it is a requirement for everyone to come in to have a reservation before playing and participating in our facility.
Great, Mr. Trotta, I don't have any other questions for you at this time. Is there anything you would like to add to the board at this time?
I don't think so. I'm just happy to talk about my business. I love it. And it was very fortunate that Patrick and I, we met through a local charity, Sparta Benevolent Society, and we just happened to have the same idea and decided to partner up. And 2 years later, we're going to be celebrating our 2-year anniversary. We also just opened up our second location in Roseland, and we just look to continue to offer the best customer and indoor golf experience.
Thank you, John. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
At this time, if it's okay with you, Madam Chairwoman, I would ask that Jason Dunn come up to the table. He is our planner.
Can we do questions first?
Oh, of course. I
from
didn't know
our-
how you wanted to
Yeah.
operate. Of course you
I'd
can.
like to go to our professionals just to follow up with their reports and see if they have any additional questions. Maybe grab the one up there.
Thank you.
So just a few questions. I'm not sure we heard what the overall business hours are.
So Monday through Friday, we open up at 9 a.m. Saturday, Sundays, we open at 8 a.m. And then Monday through Wednesday, we're open till 8 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're open till 10 p.m. And then Sundays, we close at 6 p.m.
Thank you. And you'd mentioned that you have some slower months. Obviously, the winter is more popular. Would you say that there's a drastic change in like the frequency of customers that you have in any season?
Yes, absolutely.
And which is the busiest season is winter?
Yeah, so we consider our in-season or indoor golf season between October to the end of April.
Okay. I believe your attorney had opened up, and Mr. Gray had mentioned that there are 5 existing bays.
So we have 7 bays.
You have 7 existing
Yes,
bays.
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So it's 7 and it's not changing from 7.
Correct.
Thank you. It was a little difficult without architectural plans, and I think you did a good job of describing kind of some of the changes that you're going to expand the lobby area. Is there anything right now that divides the 2 tenant spaces?
Yes, there is.
Is it a demising wall or a
Yeah,
structural wall?
it's a non-load bearing wall.
Okay, so would you be removing that wall in order to open it up?
No, we won't.
Okay. So you're just making modifications to the existing lobby area you
Correct.
have?
Yeah, we're just gonna essentially, the way we were thinking about the flow, since most of our inbound reservations coming in, they'll say, we have 4 screens, 4 big TVs on the wall, so we just have those high top tables for those new guests coming in to sit and wait until their tea time comes up. We would move and process that out where they would end up waiting next door, essentially almost having like an airport system where we have different sections in that can load onto the plane.
Okay.
So
And-
we would follow that same process.
Okay, and there's no like food service or anything or cafeteria service in that area,
Correct.
correct? Thank you. You mentioned that there's kind of a 5 to 10 minute turnover. I guess that's built into your scheduling system.
Yes.
And that is adequate right now to handle the capacity you have?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, and do you often see that turnover creates any kind of parking issues?
No, I do not.
Okay. You'd mentioned that there's no need for a loading space. Do you have any kind of regular deliveries?
No, we don't.
And for like the pro shop, is it just,
There's the regular size Amazon boxes.
Okay.
Majority of our frequent deliveries are just cleaning supplies.
okay. You mentioned some kind of different groups and different kind of clientele coming in for different length sessions. Do you have like a typical session, or is it really whatever someone books out online? Like they can book as long as they want?
They can book a maximum of 4 hours. I would say our average is about 2 hours. Unlike outside golf, which honestly at this point is taking over 6 hours to play a round of golf, majority of our players that come in, we have several leagues that are individual or team of 2 based. Those are the most popular crowds that we have or groups that we have coming in.
Okay. I only had one other question. I might save it for your planner if you can't answer it, but I just kind of noticed, and it was a little difficult without the architectural plans, but there are 2 separate parking areas. The one parking area to the west shows kind of a sidewalk entrance into the building and like a main entrance way.
Yes, that's our main entrance.
The other side, it's really hard to tell if there is an entryway door on that side.
Yes, we do.
There is an entryway, and public can, or your customers can access that side. It's not
Yes.
private. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. I have no other questions for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, for the engineering side, actually, the board planner covered a lot of the questions I had, actually, for your operations. The only thing I was stuck on a little bit was the 7 bays. You're only 7 bays existing and 7 bays proposed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so and then without architecturals, it is hard to understand how they're getting from one side to the other. It's going to be,
So the entrances are literally right next door to each other.
so they got to go outside and back in and to the other
Yes,
side?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to be opening up a wall inside to,
No, we're not.
all right. And then so you're not expanding the operation other than space-wise?
Yes, correct.
And then you said basically 4 players per bay typically, max 2 to 3?
Max of 4 players. Typically, it's 2 players.
Okay, all right, that's all I have right now.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions from the board. Let's start down on this side with Rob.
I have a few questions for you. How many leagues do you currently have during your peak season?
So right now, I would say we have a I'm sorry if I'm kind of talking out loud and talking through it. We have a women's league. We host 2 internal leagues ourselves, one on a specific night of the week, and then the others consider a flex league. So participants can come in at their own schedule and book their hour, 2 hours, whatever it needs for them to finish their round. We also have some external leagues from local golf clubs come in as well. So we have a Wallkill Golf Club night that comes in, either has one or several nights that they come in to participate and play. We also have a group of Skyview Golf Clubs come in, and I would say another 1 to 2 additional local golf clubs come in for leagues.
Okay, I've been to your facility a number of times. I think it's great.
Thank you.
The problem was on those league nights,
Mhm.
the tee times weren't staggered enough to allow for parking. So you get people parking on the west side, maybe, the shorter parking lot, on the grass, or in the road outside. of the facility.
I can't say that I've seen anyone on the grass.
Yeah, I did. I was there. So my only question is, if you stagger those tee times, particularly on league nights, where you have a 15, 30-minute break between the last tee time, that would be better.
Okay, yes.
Maybe having people, congesting your waiting area is one thing, but then you also have double the amount of parking spaces needed.
Okay, yes, I think we'll have to revisit our processes then, and then actually bake in an additional, again, since our scheduling system is fully controlled, we can add in that even 30, 40-minute block in between that turnover time.
Thank you.
No problem.
Go ahead, Rob. This is Rob Otto.
Sorry, this is, I guess, for the engineer, for Mr. Simmons' memo about the applications. I noticed where he went over the impervious cover slightly over at 40.1. There's a discrepancy on the total square footage, but regardless, I think the recommendation back and forth was pervious pavers, but in a previous application, he discussed how in his office, pervious pavers were kind of seen to be ineffective, and I just wonder if Pillow's office could weigh in on that, if they agree with that, if there's an alternative option to achieving that 40% using something other than impervious pavers, or pervious pavers rather, if they are in fact kind of seen as ineffective.
Can I comment? Mr. Otter, this is Corey Stoner, sitting in for David Simmons this evening. We do allow permeable pavers on the commercial sites. It's always a question whether or not they're going to be effective long-term, because they need to have a maintenance required that they make sure they kept clean. They're not going to be paved over in the future, and they take away their permeable capabilities down the road. So I'm sure that if David mentioned that before, that's probably why. This site here is there is some different numbers that we've noticed. Maybe Jason, when he does his testimony, can comment on the pervious coverage. David had commented that the numbers are 23,484 square foot. At one location, and the table says 23,404. But bottom line, it's still just slightly over 40% and 40.1%. It's a little odd. It's been the existing site and has been this way for many, many years. Personally, to tear that parking lot up to add that space as a permeable when down the road, it could be a maintenance issue. It might be a better option to request another variance for the impervious coverage and leave it as it is, because it's been working just fine stormwater for many years.
Thank you. Rob, any other questions?
I got some of that, but basically, so am I understanding that just in general with pervious pavers, we treat it like a basin, detention basin, where we would tie it to like a maintenance program, annual maintenance, just to ensure that they're functioning as needed, but in this case, it's a pretty small area?
Yes, typically on a commercial site, any type of site has a sizable permeable paver area, that'd be part of their stormwater maintenance plan, which would have to be filed in the clerk's office and, follow the land as a part of their deed, that in the future that would be maintained. I personally believe this small spot, I think it'd be hard to make sure that maintains a permeable stature for many, many years, and it might be a little bit of a hardship for the applicant.
Thanks, Mr. Stoner.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Thanks.
Just as a comment, I thought the 100 feet, I agree with Corey in that the 100 feet's, we taking that pavement out. That just seems like a little overkill here. in the letters, from the fire marshal, it says that a fire suppression system may be needed. What is it that makes it may be needed? Is there anybody that can tell me that?
James. Yeah, the letter is here. It says the tenant is listed as a business use group, but the occupancy load is less than 50 people. Based on the proposed expansion, it's likely that the occupancy load will increase. And I think, part of the confusion was that your application really didn't state what you were going to do with that space. Were you going to add more bays? Were you going to add more people? So if you could just address your occupancy load and whether or not that's going to change, because that will affect the fire suppression systems.
No, absolutely. At the moment, we have no plans on adding any other bays. Again, it is just expanding, just giving everyone more space. So with our second location that we did open too, down in Roseland, that location has a pro shop that we acquired as part of opening that business. And there were several other partnerships, brand contracts that we had with that we would like to bring up to our facility here in Sparta. So it's essentially just being able to give the pro shop a little bit more space that we currently have, because right now it's only in the lobby section. It just allows us to offer more to our customers. So in terms of occupancy, it's not going to increase. We're not adding any more bays. And again, we're just allowing a little bit more space, a little more breathing room. As Robert mentioned, that league nights seem to be pretty busy, just to give everybody some personal space as well.
Maybe we can even make it a condition that the fire marshal has the opportunity to look at this again once the plans are sent to, the whole plans are sent to.
Okay.
So council, assuming it's approved, it would be a condition subject to the fire marshal determination. Is that okay?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Just real quick,
Wait, I don't
you
know.
want to continue?
Okay.
So you had said, at this moment, we don't plan on expanding. And I know we touched on this and you said no now, but does that mean maybe potentially in 2 more years you might expand?
Bays are very expensive, so no, we're not going to
No.
expand with more bays.
Okay, all right.
We already spent a lot on.
I just wanted a little more clarity on it because
No,
you
our-
could sit here and say, oh, we're not expanding, and then a year you're expanding.
No, our goal is to expand more locations,
Okay.
not at our current location.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
So I've had the pleasure of attending your facility as well, but I was there for a 40th birthday party, and it was wonderful. I don't recall there being a parking issue, but what is your occupancy? Is it 50?
I think,
If you know, you know.
I honestly don't know. I would say it's under 50.
Okay.
Oh, you maxed out at 28, technically, right?
Yes, I mean, the max amount of people that we would expect is 28.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, not everybody's golfing.
Yes, correct. Yep.
That's
Right. And according to the fire marshal, the CCO that was issued in 2023 was the business use group that had to have the occupancy of less than 50. So that's what they have.
less
Yeah.
than 50. Yeah.
So you're still probably there.
Yeah. You're,
Yeah.
thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah, thank you.
I just had one question. I don't know if this is really for the planner, but I did want to ask our engineer first. I took a look at the street parking ordinances, and I couldn't find that there were any restrictions on the road. Could you just maybe clarify that? Are they allowed to park in the street if there is an overflow?
There is no specific restrictions according to the town ordinances. I don't recommend it, though, at this location, due to how the property is configured on the along the existing roadway. It's on the outside of the roadway, so if vehicles were parking along the outside of the roadways, I think it would help promote vehicles to cross over the center line of the roadway into the other half. And if somebody's coming in the opposite direction around the inside of that curve, that could actually be a little bit of a hazard situation. So It's not specifically prohibited, I believe, in the town ordinance, but I would recommend that it not be permitted as part of this application to allow them to park along the front.
Okay, so just to clarify though, that if the street parking is legal, we can't prohibit them from parking on the street. But well respected what you have said.
Okay.
And I'd like to just follow up with the owner then. Your peak times, could you go over the peak times? Because I looked at the website, I saw what they were, but I'd like you to explain that in that it is maybe a different time than most of the other businesses would be operating.
Yeah, absolutely. So our peak times are based, it's off-peak and peak. Honestly, it doesn't really reflect the busier times. Evenings tend to be the busier times just because everyone's out of a normal workday at that point. However, our peak times are determined Friday evenings, Saturdays, and Sundays.
All right, so just for the record, so your peak times would not be when there would be more rush hour traffic? That's not your peak
Correct.
time?
Yeah. Well, it's industrial and there are offices, so you're actually operating mostly when they're empty.
Yes,
So
correct.
you're opposite.
Yeah, most people coming down the street are coming to our facility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just real quick, just if, again, assuming a resolution in support, when you do have parties, and I'm not throwing stones, are people allowed to bring food and drink in?
Yes, yes.
All right, that's fine. Very good. And I just have a difficult time on why there's not a door in between the two locations. The new expansion, someone's got to go outside to go into that. I don't know if this board would have any concern or it just seems a little strange. If I'm going into your facility, and are you expanding the pro shop into the new area, or what's going in the new area?
Yeah, so we're going to be putting the waiting area over there, so with some additional couches and seating for those people coming into the reservation, and then expanding the pro shop and essentially where everything is right now, moving it out into that additional space next
All
door.
right, so the two, I think some of the questions were the dividing, well, there's going to be some type of council access, just, I don't think that's a problem. I just don't want to have a,
Yeah, so Mr. Trotta, right now there's a non-load bearing wall between the two spaces, right?
Correct.
Is there an interior door somewhere that connects the two spaces anywhere currently?
No, there's not.
There's not. Do you intend to put a door in there to connect the two spaces? Is that in your game plan for? what
It
you-
hasn't been discussed, so no. it's not.
but again, I don't know what the board, and I'm new to the board. I just have a common sense problem of, I'm in using your facility, and now the common area, I got to walk out and go, I don't know.
Yeah,
Mr. Porro,
especially
just-
on a night like this.
It's not a
you know.
variance, but
In my opinion, golfers are pretty hardy people. So there's a lot of there's people
frustrated people, not.
people playing right now. So in our experience right now, we haven't had any complaints about that. So it's only for a quick minute. And even to be able to spread out the bodies at that point, if people are dropping off their gear, they're just easily, and again, they're coming in with jackets if it's raining out, snowing out, boots out. We do require everyone to bring in a separate pair of shoes just to, maintain the integrity of the mats. So we're properly able to control the flow of traffic and how that's going to look.
So board, what I could do is I could just put that the applicant would be permitted to have a connection as long as it's subject to building code and normal
Now,
subcode.
the
If in the
The
future
adjacent
they
space you're
need-
trying to take over, is that behind the first 4 bays, or is it on the side behind where your pro shop and the laboratories are?
It's by the pro shop side.
Okay.
Just to follow up, why don't you want to put in a door?
Again, we just haven't discussed it. Our main priority is just getting the okay tonight to be able to continue planning and just get through the process that we need to.
All right, so board, as I said, I'll
Yeah.
put in that it
Okay,
is
you
not
want me to-
prohibited as long as subject to construction code and subcode
makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just clarify one thing too? You'd mentioned that right now in the existing configuration, that's how your customers are accessing the building. They're walking.
They walk to the front entrance, and there are two separate doors that customers generally exit out of. The entrance is indicated by an open golf bag sign right in our lobby area, just because part of our check-in process, since everybody is reserving online, they have to check in at our front desk. So all the golfers are coming in to that front door.
And the main front entrance is on the west.
It's in the middle of the building.
It's in the middle of the building.
Correct.
In the middle on the western side, where the smaller
I'm not familiar with
where the smaller parking lot.
sidewalk parking is.
The smaller parking lot has the main entrance.
Correct.
The larger, this is the question I was getting at before, because there's no sidewalk connection. If we already have an impervious coverage issue, I'm not gonna say that maybe we should put a sidewalk in. But I would recommend, I think the greatest solution here is probably to look into that doorway in between, just so that the connection is made and that the full tenant space operates without having to leave the building, especially when there's no sidewalk and when there's landscaping that exists in the front of the building. I think that might be a solution. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much.
Oh,
We'll
thank
be
you.
next witness.
Thank you, John. You can go have a seat over here, and I'd ask that our planner, Jason Dunn, come up.
Jason, do you either affirm or swear? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, I'm just going to ask some questions about your background, please. Where are you currently employed?
I'm with Dykstra Associates, 11 Lawrence Road, Newton, New Jersey.
And do you have any professional degrees?
Yes, I have a degree in environmental planning and design from Rutgers University with a concentration in landscape architecture. I'm a professional planner and also a licensed landscape architect in the state of New Jersey.
Have you ever testified as an expert in front of any other planning boards within the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I have testified over the last 16 or more years in front of many boards, including this one.
Has this board in the past approved you as an expert?
Yes, in fact, I was a planner who presented this application, I think, in 2008,
Oh,
when it was a new building.
And, and you have some insight. Mr. Dunn, has this board ever denied you to be an expert as a planner?
No.
Mr. Dunn, your license is in good standing as of today.
Yes, it is.
Board, I'd recommend you accept Mr. Dunn, the area professional planner, as an expert.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you, everyone. I know we've heard a lot about the operations of the business. I think that was very important to get on the record to help me explain why I think some of these variances are justified. The way I'm viewing this, there's three variances where I would like to address kind of in the same way because the proofs are very similar for each. One variance that we're asking for is the impervious cover to remain at 40.1% instead of cutting up the pavement and putting in 100 square feet of impervious pavers, which involves cutting the pavement, excavating to a certain depth, adding clean gravel and piping, and then you have the long-term maintenance issue. I looked at this site. I compared the old site plan from 2008 to what exists as built today. From what I can see, the reason the impervious is slightly over is that the sidewalk on the west side is a little longer than what was proposed back then. That was to have the sidewalk extend to where the actual doors are. There must have been some change in the building plan or something. So there's a reason for it. We did try to look for places to cut out 100 square feet of existing impervious. We didn't find that was practical and still keep the same pedestrian and vehicle circulation that works today. The second variance we're asking for is for the amount of parking stalls. As was explained earlier and in the letters from your professionals, a minimum of 50 parking stalls are required for this use. However, there's also a numerical calculation that brings us, it's 1 per 75 square feet. So that would bring us to 11.2 stalls would be required under that calculation. There are 30 on site. And third of all, I think that's, it came out in your planner's report about the landscaping and what's out there. When I took a look at what was installed, which is substantially per the plan from 2008, it does fall short of the specific new ordinance requirements of the percentage of landscaping and buffering that's required. We would ask the board to give relief on the strict compliance of that because of the fact that this is an existing site, and the landscaping, in my opinion, is appropriate. The variance, I think, can be justified under both the C1 and C2 criteria. C1, because it is an undersized lot, this is ED zone, which requires 80,000 square feet minimum. This is just under 60,000 square feet. So the parking, for instance, could not be achieved in a practical way. We could not put 50 stalls here on this lot. And not be grossly over the impervious coverage allowance or even have it work functionally. That also goes toward landscaping and the slight overage in the impervious. But I also think that this C2 criteria does cover this. It promotes the general welfare by providing a business in your economic development zone that's a clean business. There's no deliveries besides the regular business operation of cleaning supplies and whatever the pro shop is needed. There's no manufacturing happening here. And it's also, I think, recreation out, commercial indoor recreation is a need in the community. So it supports the general welfare of the community. We heard about the fact that the business owners offer it to different leagues, and this SCARC, which is a nonprofit agency, as we know, that caters toward disabled persons. We also by allowing these variances, I don't think that it would substantially impair your zone plan, or certainly would not impact the neighbors. We heard about how the parking at 30 spaces does work for this use. They've never had an issue before, and they have a very, I wouldn't say very unique, but it's an important piece of the puzzle here, and that is they can control who comes in and when through their online reservation systems. If this were another use, the tenant or the owner would not be able to control that as well. So that's my testimony. I mean, I can elaborate further if you'd like. I don't know if there's more questions about the site, but I think I'd like to reiterate, if it wasn't mentioned already, that we are not proposing any site improvements unless the board holds us to that 100 square feet of permeable pavers.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to our professionals. I just have a quick question, though. Would we have to have one more variance for the loading zone, to reiterate that?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. Typically on site plans, at least in my experience with this board, that is a design exception, not a variance, but it would go under the same criteria.
Waiver,
But I don't think it's specifically necessary for this use, so I'd like to ask the board for relief on that as well.
Professionals.
Thank you. In looking at the original resolution, they did receive what they called a site plan exception at the time for no loading space. So I don't know if I'll defer to Mr. Porro if he thinks that captures in the new building.
Very good points. It's raised and so noted.
I just have a few questions. I know you'd mentioned that, you might be short on the landscaping. Can you just describe, and I want to do this for the board as well because it's come up a few times in the ED zone. There's two separate landscaping sections. There's an existing one under 18-5.30, I believe. And that's existed. That's the standard landscaping requirements for, all site plan applications. And then there's 18-4.9 I-7, which is the ED zone requirements, which were added in a few years ago when the ED zone was amended. And those are particular. And both are required. they're not competing, they're kind of layered requirements. So I just a clarification on what relief is being sought.
Sure. I did a quick calculation of the landscape areas, just sort of making some assumptions about around the shrubs and trees that were located by the surveyor. You know, if you take just the exact area of the trunks, you don't get a real count of what the actual mulch area is of the planting area. So what I came up with, excuse me, was 2,000. Okay, just under 2,900 square feet of total landscape area. So the one section of the landscape area ratio in your ED zone ordinance requires a minimum of 40%. In the past, I think we've counted existing lawns and landscape areas, so we actually we do meet that. And then Section 3 of that portion of the ordinance says that at property boundaries, evergreen trees shall be planted at 15-foot intervals, a minimum of 2 row offsets along the property to obscure views from upper floors of nearby buildings. This property does not have that. I really don't think it's necessary because it's not really buffering from any residential zone. There's just the neighboring properties that are also commercial in nature. I mean, that's really the bulk of that section of the ordinance. And then we have, like Mr. Nod said, the 18-5.3 design standards and landscaping, where it says percent of the site equal to a minimum of 30% of all impervious surface shall be dedicated to plant mass areas. That would be about
A little over 7,000.
over 10,000 square feet, I think.
Oh, your impervious coverage is about 24,000, 23,000. So it's about,
23,000.
yeah, so 30% is like 7,500 or so, right?
Right. So we are at 2,800.
Okay.
Also says a parking lot of 20 more spaces shall be provided with interior landscaping covering not less than 5% of the area of the parking lot. We don't have any interior landscape islands with these parking areas, and so I don't know if it would be worthwhile to cut that in there. So that's the relief we're asking for generally.
Okay. Just to summarize from what I heard, I believe that relief would be needed from 18-5.30.1D from the 30% landscaping requirement, from what I heard. They're shy of the 7,500, approximately 7,500 square foot requirement. And Mr. Dunn had mentioned that's about 2,900 square feet existing right now. There's an additional relief required from 18-4.29 I-7A3, which is the requirement for the property boundaries to have evergreen tree screening, which is currently not existing and not proposed. I would ask that if they do an updated as-built plan as part of resolution compliance, they just include the actual numbers, or even in the resolution, if this application is looked favorably upon, that they include some of these calculations in some sort of table so that it is codified and we know what the relief was.
Mr. Gray, is that okay?
Yes, that's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just for clarification, this is a minor site plan for the use change, correct? That's the first part of this application.
Right.
And then there's a variance for the impervious coverage exceeding the 40%, that's what you're requesting. And then the not meeting the parking requirements. Now, the parking requirements fall under the design standards section of the code, so is that a design exception or a variance?
I mean, it's been treated a couple both ways
Yeah.
in front of this board in the past. But
I've seen other boards handle it as a design exception and not a variance, so Board attorney, if you have a comment on that, I'm not sure.
I'd recommend to the board, we grant both. The variance- We'll
Okay.
treat it as a variance and, but I think professionally, it's really a design waiver, but for the sake of approval, so there's no misunderstanding on the record, I would add it as the fourth variance. Again, number one variance, the impervious surface, number two, the parking number three, the landscaping and buffer ordinance deviation, and number four, the design waiver, that's design waiver and the loading block dock issue. That's what I've memorialized as the material variances.
And then the only other question I had about the plans, the impervious coverage numbers, they're different numbers on different plan sheets. There's a plan sheet, like the as-built has a certain number, the site plan that we have has a different number. So just, I'd like to have an updated set of plans that have all the same numbers.
Yes, we agree to do that, and I did check the pervious cover area calculation on the site plan. It was mistyped in two places. It's 23,384, not 23,404. So we can correct that, and we can also check it against the as-built.
And that still comes over 40%, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I think David had commented on his report, some other items like the application form had a difference in the lot size numbers. Just, he asked if the application form be updated. He did ask to make sure we had the health department, an updated from the health department approval, construction official approval, building ADA requirements, make sure all building permits are up to date, whenever this change occurs. And then the fire prevention, fire protection, outside agent. I think there was a letter from the fire department, but just make sure that these, when the change of use occurs, that all these other approvals are up to date.
And the applicant agrees with all of those potential conditions. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody from the board have questions? I'm going to start with Rob this time because he's Rob Otto.
Got anything, Rob?
I guess not. Anybody else?
I have a question. And Catherine, this is more towards you, but why would we grant an exception on the landscaping when we can bring it up to code?
No.
Hello, Rob.
He's on delay.
Come on
It's
now.
the other
Yeah.
Rob speaking right now. So Rob Otto, please wait. Rob Bleakley started speaking.
Came out of nowhere. No.
It's-
4-year-old.
It's really up to this board if you do, want to request that the applicant or see if they will agree to supplement the existing landscaping from what is there today, if you think it's appropriate, because this is an amended minor site plan. But it's really up to this board. I will mention that the requirements specifically for the ED zone were implemented, almost 12,
24 months ago.
15, no, I'm just saying after this had been approved. So this was approved in 2008. So it's been, almost 15 years that this building has been approved and existed without those requirements. So it's truly up to this board. If you want to request that the applicant supplement the landscaping in any way, I think that's appropriate.
Is that a landlord responsibility?
It would be. I think they'd have to check with the landlord to see if they'd agree to it.
Yeah, it does, it presents a whole nother level of, they'd have to get approval of the landlord, and you have the right to do it. I would say they'd have to come back with a landscaping plan. You could do a conditional approval tonight if you wanted, subject to coming back, but there would be another level of review. You couldn't just say, put another evergreen tree. You really should have a landscaping plan. And then you may need a maintenance bond for that, for the landscaping. So it's whatever you think is proper.
I don't think we came up with these new guidelines for.
What?
I don't want to say that.
You
word.
have to talk into the mic.
Yeah, can you pull the microphone down so that you
sure.
can, yeah, thank you.
Well, I think if we're looking at an opportunity here to bring things to code, we should. And I would like to see the landscaping there, not personally, but it would, even though this came into effect in 2022, and without putting any undue burden on the applicant, I think it should be considered.
One thing you could, if the board did choose to do that, you could do a conditional approval tonight that the final certificate of occupancy for the new area would not be approved until you approve a landscaping plan. If you chose to do that, you could issue a temporary CO so they could be up and running economically, but the final CO could be subject to a landscape plan, again, if you so chose that direction.
A question along those lines, they don't have to do all evergreen trees. They could maybe do some other shrubs, small plants, just to maybe create a barrier between, if you're looking at your building to the right, because there's no barrier there at all.
Right now, the
But does
ED
it-
zone does require at property boundaries, the evergreens in a staggered formation, basically as like a screening tool. Not linear, like on 2-foot offsets. It also requires landscaping break up the long building, so it would be at the side, but there's no room on the side right now. So there are things that because this building is already built, it presents an impediment to being able to meet all of the requirements. I would ask Mr. Porro if he thinks it's appropriate that if the applicant agreed to additional landscaping, if they could provide a compliant plan that could be subject to the professional review.
Mr. Dunn is a licensed landscape architect, and I think he might be able to shed a little light on the situation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bleakley. I appreciate you noting that, and it is definitely a valid question. Why not bring this to the strict compliance of the new code? I guess my answer to that would be, as Ms. Samad said, you were talking about an existing site and an existing building, and although you have all the right to make us do that, it does cause a financial hardship, which I know it's not really for the board to consider that part of it. But strictly speaking, from aesthetic view and practical view, this site could use some upgrades, but we would ask for relief at least from the full line of evergreen trees, only because it would not serve a practical purpose. It would just be, I mean, I know that trees are definitely a good thing. We all know that. But, it's not buffering the view from anything significant. You got a solar field and 2 commercial sites neighboring here. So while I agree that some additional landscaping would be appropriate, especially in light of the impervious cover variance, if the board would allow that, I think that
Okay with that.
the tenant and landlord would be agreeable. The question is, like, well, what is that? How much? So at the least, I would ask the board to consider waiving the evergreen trees, and then we could probably upgrade to that 7,500 square feet of landscape areas to really make the site look a little better, yeah.
I would remind the board about the testimony. You have heard that my clients occupy this space pursuant to a written lease agreement. The written lease agreement, the testimony was that they don't maintain the outside at all. They don't do the snow removal, they don't do the landscaping, they don't do the mowing. Legally, they probably don't have permission for the lease agreement to modify the landscaping in any respect. They would have to go back to the landlord for any permission and a discussion about whatever conditions are placed on them to do, just as a reminder about the testimony that you've heard.
Understood.
Council brings a good point. I've seen that you could do a conditional approval, and as the board planner, Catherine, brought up, that it could be reviewed just professionally by the board engineer and planner. You could retain jurisdiction as to the landscaping issue if the landlord had a problem, or if your professionals could not agree. It would come back to here before they get their final certificate of occupancy. Again, the board can give them the temporary certificate of occupancy, they can get up and running, but they wouldn't get the final until the landscaping issue was resolved. That's a possible resolution.
Anybody else have any questions?
So, sorry, This is Rob. So did I understand that there's the question of effectively it's out of compliance since 2022 on some issues? There's a complication because some of the things that would bring it into compliance would require the owner to actually affect those changes, not obviously the tenant. And I guess I'm just wrestling with, we're again kind of looking at accommodating despite guidelines having changed. And so I understand that from you know, this particular project's wants and need, but presumably we put these guidelines in place since then for a reason. So I just want to make sure that we are considering them. It sounds like we are in this part of it, but I just, you know, put it back to our lawyer and to our professionals that, you know, we're not always trying to make these projects fit according to the old guidelines. That we have the new guidelines, that we're trying to be proactive to conform to those, because otherwise we just end up with this patchwork and, you know, the idea of these good ideas, but then we've modified everything to fit the use. So, all right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, do you have any
Just
other
as a,
quick-
I'm sorry, Chairman, just as a response to the question that was just asked by Rob, I think it's important to remember that when this building was first approved back in 2008 and there were guidelines in place, there was a specific plan and landscape plan design around the project at that time that this board said that makes sense for this particular plan for this particular site. And since the landscape ordinance was updated in 2022, because that was not all laid out and planned at the time in 2008, there's been a landscape plan in place. It would be prohibitively difficult, or with the evergreen trees, just not make a lot of sense.
Well, let me
for
ask you a
certain
question
respects.
though, I think it's on the western side of the building, the side with the least amount of parking spaces, where it indicates that there's a shrub row there.
Yeah.
I don't think there is. I don't think there's a shrub row there.
I don't think so either from just aerial photography. So that was the other point. It's not just compliance. Can we make sure that the landscaping that is there is in good shape, and that can we supplement what should be there if it's not there?
Yeah.
But did I also hear earlier that the original plan with the previous board that was approved, that when they were looking to prepare current as-built, that they didn't match what the plan was previously approved as? Like specifically, I think a walkway? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, Robert, the impervious surface, and they believe the testimony was that the walkway, pedestrian walkway is longer than was anticipated. So it could be a site deviation. It doesn't look like there's any underhandedness. It just looks like the contractor accommodated the site with longer sidewalk. But this is Ken Poro, the attorney speaking. Again, the concept of a approval subject to a professional review, and you would retain jurisdiction if there was a problem. Therefore, the issue raised by the board planner and board engineer on shrubbery and improving drainage could all be addressed at their level, and if there is a disagreement, it would come back. Otherwise, if they sign off, a permanent C of O could be issued.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Just to reiterate, it was your testimony, Mr. Dunn, that you believe that the property could be improved with landscaping despite what was originally approved in 2018 old plan.
Yeah, I'm sure the owner would disagree. But yes, I think that some supplementary landscaping would be appropriate here, and also to look into the health of what's there, sure.
Thank you. Okay, do you have any further testimony?
No, Madam Chairwoman, that concludes our testimony and presentation this evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, then at this point, I think I'd like to defer to our attorney.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, poor Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, the public.
Come on.
Yes, yes. Shame on all of
She's
us.
sitting there so quietly.
Thank you. It's nothing egregious. I just have a couple questions. I have to admit that this is Jenny Derricks, Tap into Sparta. I do golf in the Ladies League
Ah,
that uses that facility.
Sorry,
and
Jenny, I'm new. Can you spell your last name, please?
Dericks.
Thank you.
We did just finish last week, so we're done. But the question,
Jenny, you're just asking questions. I'm not going to swear
I'm
you
not
in.
testifying, just
Good.
asking questions.
Fine.
Well, so far, anyway. The question is, Catherine, at the last meeting, you had mentioned that a roll-up door doesn't need to be counted as a dock door. They have a roll-up door. The new space has a roll-up, or the existing extra space has a roll-up door. Is that correct? Anyway, is there a man door back there as well? That's my question.
Yes.
There is. So you can enter.
It's similar to our current.
Could you speak
facility.
in, could you come up, speak into the mic?
Sorry, I just don't recall seeing that.
Our current facility right now does have roll-up doors. There's 2 of them, and then there are 2 additional normal.
So there's a
regular
man
doors.
door in the
It's
back
it's
to get
an
in.
exact mirror copy of that down into the new
Okay,
space. Yes.
And just for the record, John Trotta.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that was my only question. And just to help you out a little bit, this is testifying.
Ah, you saw me swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help me God.
I do. When the reservation is over, the screen shuts off. You can't even keep playing if you wanted to. So just to help you out with your time.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll turn it over.
Yes, Board, you have before you the application PB for Planning Board 24-727, The Green 973 LLC, located at 10 Park Lake, Block 16001, Lot 11, ED Zone. The application before you is for minor site plan with variance. Notice was determined as submitted by the applicant, and they are in support of their application. There was the owner witness and also their professional planner, and through their attorney, Mr. David Gray. The exhibits are part of the application, which is already submitted. We also have the engineering report from Pello dated December 23rd, 2024. We have our board planner report dated February 12th, 2025. We have from the police department a January 2nd, 2025 submittal. They do not see any traffic safety issues. You also have fire prevention that made comments, and if the board was to approve this application, the applicant agreed to comply with the fire subcode and fire prevention issues as raised in their December 30th, 2024 review comments. You also have before you the Department of Utilities that said is acceptable and there would be no additional impact on water service. And the tax assessor said that that was all in compliance. And you also have the Environmental Commission gave no objection to the application. And then finally, you have the Health Department that also confirmed that the facility is functioning within the requirements and did submit some documentation. Obviously, the applicant has said that if any of the additional work triggered subcode or additional review by county, state, or other agencies, they recognize that as a condition. They also agreed to a condition of an as-built plan at the end before a certificate of occupancy would be provided. And again, if there's any subcode, electric, plumbing, and the like, they would comply with that. And at the end of the day, they are seeking 4 variance or design waiver areas. Number 1, the impervious surface. Number 2, the parking stall number. Number 3, we had quite a bit of conversation on the landscaping and buffer, and I believe the sentiment is that the applicant will supplement that. We would grant the variance, but supplemented subject to review by the professional planner board, your professional planner and board engineer. And what you would do is retain jurisdiction in the resolution. If there's a disagreement between the applicant and the board professional review, it would come back here for final resolution. If there is no disagreement, then the applicant can move forward to get their final certificate of occupancy. And the last thing was, we talked about the design waiver or variance relating to the loading dock. And that, I believe, summarizes the application. It would be proper, the chairperson to, someone to move the approval subject to those conditions, and someone second. But just because you move it doesn't mean you have to vote for it.
Can I add one more condition?
Yes.
What Rob Bleakley had suggested, a break between the tee times for the turnover, reduce any parking issues.
Yeah, can we clarify that, counsel? What do you think? Give me some language.
I think that if the applicant has a 10 to 15-minute window between scheduling leagues coming and going, I think that was the testimony, that would be appropriate, and that you can build that into your system.
I think you might want to build out more than that. You know how eager golfers are, and they show up 10, 15 minutes early, and start drooling at the
Yeah,
screen.
I don't want to impede too much on my client's business, and I appreciate that, but I'm no expert in the timing or the golf coming and going. But if I put them down for 30 minutes and then everybody's just waiting around for the screens to go,
Yes, that's fine.
I'm just not qualified to testify to that, so maybe my client could speak more intelligently to that point.
Yeah, please, if we can hear that.
All right, so just to reiterate the question, is just to clarify a little bit how much time is needed. If you go to a regular golf course, you're expected to start at a specific tee time. So even if you get there early, we do accommodate that for a lot of our customers, especially if there's no reservations before. We're not going to make, if it's an empty facility, we're not going to make them wait 10 minutes before they start.
My concern isn't the normal Saturday morning, where you're having 3 out of your 7 bays being utilized. It's on the league nights, right?
Yes.
So where you have people who are still playing, taking up the 30 parking spaces in your lot, and then you have the next round coming in for their 9-hole session, right, with nowhere to park. So what I'm asking for really is a little more lead time to let that first round of golfers, and it's not every day, you can make it for league nights, so that you can clear out the parking lot in time for people to come in.
Yeah, so with that being said, I would say is 30 minutes an acceptable amount?
To me, it is, sure.
So then we would absolutely consider a 30-minute leeway time before.
All right, so let just, because I have to work with your counsel to put it into some type of language.
Sure.
Let's say I have a time at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And I pay for an hour.
Correct.
And that brings me to 6 o'clock. And let's say there's leagues at 6 and 7. How are you breaking up the time so the parking lot doesn't get exhausted?
So it
What-
would be, you wouldn't be able to book at 5 at that point. So we would essentially make the last reservation before league night, using your example, at 4. So an hour reservation from 4 to 5 p.m. We don't offer normally 30-minute reservations. Majority of our reservations are on the hour, for an hour at minimum. So at that point, we would just lose out on the hour before the league.
So, but Rob is saying, how if it's 5 to 6 and then 6 to 7.
So league nights, we always schedule them at the end of the night. So there won't be any reservations afterwards. So at that point, there won't be a 6 o'clock league. There won't be a 7 o'clock league. The only times that we would run into that is with some of the junior clinics or junior leagues that we have. Those are only an hour, but that's just treated like a normal reservation at that point. So our staff turns over the bays within less than a minute. There's very minimal cleanup, so even if there's league members waiting, we usually get them and started at least by 5 after the hour. at the
Right,
start
so
of the
but
resolution.
what the board member is saying is that your parking lot is,
Yes, yeah.
so how do we address, how do your attorney and I write up a resolution that addresses
So
that?
we would accommodate that. We would close off bay time reservations ample enough to allow that 30-minute mark before for turnover of the bays.
So I think, council, if we say something to the effect of, as a condition of approval, 30-minute, there would be a 30-minute window before and after league play wherein the bays would not be utilized for play.
Yeah, yes.
Or league or full 7-bay usage? Go ahead, planner. Yes.
Potentially, if the applicant's willing to agree that there'll be no parking allowed anywhere besides paved spaces. So that there won't be parking happening on the grass. There won't be parking happening outside, just outside the driveways that might create traffic hazard. It's supposed to be what's happening anyway. It just creates an enforceable standard for the township.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to be clear, Mr. Trotta, you would agree that there would be no parking on the grass,
Correct. Which,
right?
yeah,
So,
yes.
and you would be agreeable to that, right?
Yes, correct.
And then when the bays are full by way of, the 7 bays are full, or when they're full by way of league usage, that there would be a 30-minute window between those activities.
Correct.
Well, I'll work
Well,
out with your counsel.
I think what we would say, Mr. Poro, is something is limited to the leagues. Because, again, and I don't know, but there might be, a league that uses
That's a good point.
2 bays.
That's a good
And
point.
it's, public use for the other 3. I don't want to
Get
shut
it.
their business down
Rob, yeah, Rob,
unnecessarily.
what do you think?
No, I think he's right. I think that when we have, and you guys will know which leagues fully utilize all the bays. I mean, I've been there for the same league, really as a backup too. And one time we had to park in the street and one time we parked in the grass. And that was just about, the people who were in the stalls before us and that 15-minute layover where there's a transition. Because when we came out, there were empty spaces in the parking lot, but,
Yeah, I think we need the clear out time between league play, right? So if we limited it to just, 30-minute block out before and after league play, is there ever an instant, Mr. Trotta, where there's a league night or a league plays, and then after that league is done, like after women's league is done, there's another league after that?
No, there's no back-to-back leagues.
There's no back-to-back leagues? So I would just say 30-minute window before league play then. We don't have to address after. And that should be enough to clear out the parking enough. People may linger, can't help that, but I think 30 minutes is reasonable.
And
Oh, yeah, and Mr. McKernan would like to say something. I don't know that
I
he
gotta
was sworn
swear,
in.
gotta swear you in real quick. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Name and business address for the record.
Patrick McKernan, business address is 10 Park Lake Road, Sparta, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Just to address that league question, I think so. Number one, I want to clarify that all the leagues that we have aren't full facility. So we do have some junior clinics and leagues that come in that might take up 1, 2, or 3 bays. I think I would ask for those to not be part of this. I think what Robert is addressing is a full facility league where every single bay is taken for that league and turned over at the exact same time. Because we do have other moments where the whole facility is sold out, but there's staggered tee times all throughout the day. So I don't think we have an issue there. I think what he's saying is when, you have reservations up till 6 o'clock and that league starts at 6 o'clock. So you have those people finishing up and another 24, 28 people coming in at that same time for that 10, 15-minute window. He's saying that he's experienced a parking issue. So I think full facility or full bay usage leagues, we can put that half hour in. We would just ask for the rest of the time because it is staggered, even though our facilities sold out, shouldn't have to put that half hour in.
Board, I'm comfortable that the applicant's attorney and myself can come up with some language.
One more comment?
We'll void their certificate of occupancy.
Okay,
Are
with
you
some,
sure you want to agree to this? I mean, isn't this going to adversely impact your business or not?
If you look at the 180 reviews we have on Google, we have 0 parking, negative parking comments for it. So to accommodate the customer experience, and that's what our business is about, is the customer service and value. To improve league nights, those full facility leagues, we would definitely consider adjusting the time frame. So it's a very limited amount. It's not every night. It's not every morning. It's really only 1, maybe max 2 nights a week.
And the league nights are your last group of golfers
They're,
anyway.
they're always the last. Yeah, we structure it accordingly, knowing that all 6 bays are going to be, all the bays are going to be turned over at once, and that's very rare that actually happens.
And Mr. Trotta, do you think, this might be a difficult question to answer, but before league play, right? And I'm guessing leagues are showing up, right? People are finishing off. Can you testify as to how long it normally would take somebody just playing there regularly? They're done, they got to go, they're screen shut off, right? And the league is coming in and running into some parking issues those 2 nights a week. Those people who are finishing their play, right? That's who we're trying to clear out. How long does it normally take, in your opinion, for somebody to, the screen shut off, they stop their play, they got to get their clubs together, they got to gather their belongings, maybe look at the stuff at the pro shop and leave. How long do you think that process takes? And then get in their car, put their bags in their car, get into the car, pull out, and exit the driveway?
I would say less than 5 minutes.
Now, I'm curious if maybe the board would consider something like 20 minutes for the turnaround time as opposed to 30, just for, normal business operations to continue. It gives them enough time to clean up, gives people time to go. Yes, maybe people are coming and going at the same time in the car, but I think that should go a long way to alleviating any parking congestion at the time.
well, you're referencing more the people leaving, within 5 minutes. How about the people coming in, the golfers who want to be there for the league? How early do they come in?
Since they have a scheduled time, majority of our customers come in 5 minutes before their reservation starts. So at that,
They come in, change shoes, get settled.
the changing of shoes isn't as often. It's only during, like, if there's snow on the ground or even our walkways. Everything is generally very clean, and our staff does a pretty good job of cleaning the facility itself to maintain the look and cleanliness. But it's a very quick turnaround because from our business standpoint, we need golfers to start swinging as quickly as possible at the time of the reservation. So if it's any longer than 7 minutes or any longer than 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. right after their reservation start time, it's too long at that point. So cleanup out and cleanup in is very minimal and very quick.
Well, we're just talking the leagues and stuff, but going back to your earlier testimony, then you said that it was very congested and crowded in the waiting area, which is why you need more space. So clearly there are a lot of people on site if you're facing that congestion.
That would be due to the golf, like addition of golf bags, the equipment, because when you look to kind of explain the foot area of what one single individual golfer would have is obviously their own personal space, but along with their bag that they're bringing and their gear to play. So to be able to facilitate a quicker out and in route is why we would need this additional space to help spread that out so it's even faster at that point.
Okay, what is your best estimate of the time that you would need before a league?
I would say, honestly, 10, 15 minutes before that turnaround time for a previous reservation to leave and clear out from the parking lot. And at that point, I think it comes down to the standard of letting our league players know that 7 p.m. is a strict start time and to come a little bit closer to their reservation at that point.
real quick. So you had a previous tenant next door, right?
Correct.
And they had operating hours. Do you know how many employees were there at any given time?
One car and one employee.
That was it? Okay, that's all. I want that on the record.
Yep.
Okay, what did we come up with?
15.
I'd just like to address that as well. So at the end, there was one person there. Prior to COVID, from my understanding from the owner, there was about 15 employees.
Okay.
So there, the whole front area was an office staff. The whole back was a warehouse. They were building servers and computers. So at one point, there was 15 employees there. At the end, when he didn't need the space anymore, there was one.
I just wanted to bring that up because that is something that maybe we're missing here too. If you had 15 other cars with the previous tenant there also operating with your business, that collectively you have more people.
Yeah, so again, at the
Don't have
end,
that
at the,
anymore.
at the end, there was one. And our main thing was really to prevent somebody else from going in there so that we could retain the entire building and have the parking spots.
Okay.
Patrick, what is your best estimate of the time in between somebody leaving and a leave?
I'd agree with the 10 to 15 minutes. It shouldn't be more than that. I mean, like Robert said, some of the people do come a little early for the leagues, which we could do a better job communicating with them. But as far as 15 minutes prior, I mean, like John was saying earlier, we want our customers in and out and then just getting the next group set up. So realistically, 5 minutes is fine, but I know those league nights, everyone is a little excited and, people getting out of the house and getting together with their friends. So they might show up 10, 15 minutes early. That's where we run into those issues because these people were finishing up. So if we have a hard stop on those tee times prior, it will allow us the time to get them out, get them to their car and get the league members in. So.
Are you comfortable with that then, Rob? 15 minutes? Sure. And then, quite frankly, it's your business. If it's going to be congested and not working, it's going to be in your best
Correct.
interest to change it.
And we don't want that either. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
John
so
said,
you always
our
have
business
that.
is customer service. So we are not looking to have issues or people parking in the grass or anywhere else. And that's our job to police it as business owners. So we want the transition to be smooth. That's why we have the back entrance. There's a sign above it so people can park that back there. We don't want people carrying their golf clubs a long distance either. So we want that entrance door to be accessible and nice and easy for our customers.
Okay, so the resolution is on the table and we decided on the 15-minute interval. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with what Mr. Porro said before.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Robert Blakely,
Yes.
Jeanette Burke,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Scott,
Yes.
Brian Zimmerman,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Robert Otto.
Yeah.
And Chairwoman Joan Furman.
Yes,
Okay, great, thank you.
congratulations.
Council, I should have the resolution by the next 30 days, but I'll get you a draft before.
Yeah, if you want to email me, because I have some ideas about what would make sense for code enforcement.
Great, thank you.
That draft. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time and attention.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask if we could take a 5-minute break in between?
Okay.
Did you see the- Did you find out?
We're live.
Okay, can we jump to then the training session?
Yes, Ken Poro for the record. What I did was I handed out to you, it's the New Jersey statute 40:55D-25, and you'll see I highlighted in yellow. It says powers of the planning board, and that's obviously this group. And you'll see the main areas 1 through 6. So if, number 1, your master plan, that's your primary number 1 function. Number 2, you do subdivisions and it could be related site plan to the site subdivision. Number 3, efforts related to the official map. And the official map is what your zones are. Do you want open space here? Again, the map, the road map for the town. And that really goes hand in hand with the master plan. Again, the master plan is more of the verbiage, but the official map will reflect your master plan. Number 4, the zoning ordinance, including conditional uses. That's where you've seen over the years, the mayor and council change zoning ordinances. That comes to you, and you get to review that. You refer it back to the mayor and council, and they can either accept or reject your recommendations. Also, one that sometimes gets neglected is the capital improvement program. That's, again, if the municipality is looking to do in the future a new park, new facility, that's part of your function to review those. And if the mayor and council are going for funding, the state may say, do you have a capital improvement program that has been approved by the planning board? And it's not hard, and that we deal with the planners on that. Number 6, and then variances, as we saw tonight, the variance related to the site plan and certain building permits in conjunction with the subdivision. This is all pretty straightforward. Now, the next one, the planning board may. So on the above, those are issues that shall come before you. They may come before you if you're participating in the preparation or review of a program or plan required by state and federal law. So let's say when COVID came into play and they allowed outdoor restaurants and the like, those were sent to the planning board for your review. The town, mayor and council would pass ordinances, but they did come here through, let's say, certain federal or state programs. Number 2, again, may assemble data on continuing basis on continuous planning process. So here, the mayor and council again delegate to the planning board that you assemble data, let's say on cannabis, on things to, should it be in this zone? What are you seeing? Have subcommittees, so that's may do that. Number 3, perform such other advisory duties as assigned by ordinance, again, the mayor and council. So really the top portion, 1 through 6, is your primary function. If we go to the next page, highlighted, and you'll see again the referral power, the adoption before any development plan. If you see redevelopment plans, the mayor and council talk about certain proposed development regulations. That comes before you. Again, we're seeing more redevelopment. If we go now to the next page, I've highlighted that 40.6, the municipal zoning powers are not limited. That, and this is very important, I was talking to the chairperson earlier today, Joan, or just before, that you had a ruling by the Superior Court that basically said that review and approvals should come before the planning board because you are best suited to review what goes on in your town. So the New Jersey statute, this is the legislation, said here, your zoning powers shall not limit that just because of public health, safety, and welfare. So if someone says to you that you don't have the power to place that condition, well, you can always retreat back to public health, safety, and welfare, and a little bit of common sense that you're doing what's best for your community.
Can I just
Yes.
stop there for a second, because we were speaking about this. And I think it came up in light of traffic, because I think we were all under the impression that we could only look at circulation on site. But if we are looking at the health, safety, welfare, and what's the fourth one?
Public health, safety, and welfare.
Okay, then we are able to take that into account. So that's going to be a big switch in our thinking.
Well, what, you have to use a level, let's say it's traffic, and the applicant comes in with their traffic expert. If you do not have the traffic expert from the board rebutting or addressing that, now you can use public health, safety, and welfare, but there are standards of review that are not rebutted by the applicant. If your board traffic person agrees 100% with the applicant on traffic, you have a tough road by board members to say, look, I live this, public health, safety, and welfare. I disagree with the experts and I disagree with my board. That's probably not going to go well.
The better thing is to enact conditions in advance of that, so you're not on the defense and just hoping that your traffic person is going to produce results that you would expect.
Well, that's a good
Instead, you
point.
just-
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
You can say that this particular zone has particular parking requirements. You can restrict, time, place, and manner of the road if they're impacting. But that all comes to the traffic study. Joan was alluding to the case, it's called the Dunkin' Donuts case. And with the Dunkin' Donuts case, think of a strip mall, and it had 4 uses, and on the end, they had let's say a coffee shop or some type of operation went out of business, and Dunkin' Donuts moved in. Dunkin' Donuts was a permitted use, and the board said, look, I know you're permitted use, but the amount of traffic you're going to create, and the old tenant didn't have that, so therefore they denied the application. And the applicant had a traffic expert, and the board just said they disagreed. The court said it was a permitted use, and that therefore you could not, in that case, utilize traffic as the sole or the main reason for denial, because it was a permitted use. Now, as Rob just inferred, if you say, yeah, it's a permitted use, but you have to have 10 parking spaces and you only have 5, or you have to have setbacks of 20 feet and you only have 10. So you're establishing the record that it's not just traffic, it's the site constraints, it's the additional variances that are making this proposed use improper. I will be very candid with you. You are the planning board. When something comes before you as the planning board, there is a presumption that it is an approved use. However, as it was just brought out by the 2 Robs, why do we have ordinances if we don't have compliance with it? So therefore, I think you did the right thing on the applicant before you on the landscaping issue. Yeah, in 2008, it was approved to those standards, but now there's a change of circumstance, gives you a second bite of the apple, and you did do a service to your application by giving landscaping, and I like the way you deferred to the professional engineers, because that way they could come up with a plan, shrubs and the like. It's relatively inexpensive. They don't have to do a written plan per se that comes back before you, takes another 30 days and another review process. So that's a nice way to address those concerns. Okay. All right, so moving along, you'll see I did throw in here the powers of the zoning board. Okay, if we go to the next page, it says powers of the Board of Adjustment. And the only reason I threw that in there is when someone says to you, oh, it's NJSA 40:55D-70, a C1 variance. And you'll see all that is paragraph C. And there's C1. C1A is where by reason of the exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape. Now, you grant C variances here also. This is where it comes from. So when someone says, oh, a C1 variance, you can say, oh, yeah, that's found in 40:55D-70 C1, and you're now the expert in the area. And you'll see C2, we go a little further down, wherein an applicant or appeal piece of purpose or act that's educational, and then you'll see that language that I highlighted, that the benefit of the deviation would substantially outweigh the detriment. So you'll hear a lot of people use different language on it. Here is the black letter law. A C2 variance says you're granting it because the benefit of the deviation, the benefit of the variance would substantially outweigh any detriment. Not that it's 50-50, but that it substantially outweighs. Now, it has been the cases, and other colleagues have said, you know, if it's just better, you know, the deviation, you should give it because it outweighs, but the statute does see substantially, okay? And if we keep going a little further, I had highlighted, you know, just the other subcategories, but no variance, and I highlight, no variance or other relief may be granted under the terms of this section, including a variance or other relief involving an inherently beneficial use without a showing that such variance or relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, without not substantially impairing the intent and purpose of the zoning plan. Now, wow, a lot of language, a lot, and someone comes to you and says, well, it's inherently beneficial. It's going to be a school, it's going to be a church, it's going to be a, you know, something that really is good for society. Just because it's inherently beneficial doesn't give them a grant right away. The way I like to look at that is you have the positive and negative criteria. Inherently beneficial gives you the positive, but you still have to deal with the negative by way of it can't be negative as against the master plan and your intent. And that's what this is saying. It cannot impair the intent and purpose of the zoning plan or your other zoning ordinances. So if in fact a church or a certain facility is not permitted in a zone, even though it's inherently beneficial, it doesn't mean they get approval. They still have a purpose to why it should be there. Now, what I found is that when a municipality says churches are permitted in this zone, nursing homes are permitted in this zone, things that are inherently beneficial, if you give zones, if you prohibit those inherently beneficial in every zone, that's where you have trouble. And that's when we look at the master plan. Those are the things we should be looking at. Are we permitting zones in which certain inherently beneficial uses should be there? All right, so I want to quickly turn, when you interviewed me, I made reference to this case, the Black Whale, and the reason that I wanted to, this is the case down the shore in Long Beach Island in Beach Haven, where and since you have a lot of lakes and you have a lot of, you know, highlands, that jurisdictional issues, I think this case can help us all in that the court, this is the assignment judge, which is the highest judge in Ocean County, dealing with water issues. And if you recall, when the restaurant was first opened, there was a condition that as far as the docks, when someone came in with a boat, that there would be a parking space. And the board said, on your docks, you cannot have additional boats on the north side because you only have, let's say, 10 parking spaces. Time goes forward, and the local Beach Haven said, you know, some people coming on a boat, they don't need a parking space, and they're coming from Tuckerton, Little Egg, so it's kind of silly that they have this requirement. So the ordinance changed, and they eliminated the requirement of parking for transient and for docks. Applicant hired our firm. We went before the board. It was an amendment to the site plan. And when we went for the amendment, the neighbor next door was concerned by saying that now if you allow boats to park there, it's going to affect my view, the smell of the boats, the noise, so they objected strenuously. The board unanimously said, look, it's no longer a variance. It was put there because of an undue burden. And if you just quickly, I just want to show you some of the language on the case. If let me go to my, yes, this is mine. I just want to direct you a couple pages on here. Go to page 6. This was talking about at the bottom. It says the board attorney and Mr. Shin, the board engineer, Mr. Little, advised the board that in their opinion, as a legal matter, the land use board did not have jurisdiction on the waterways, but only on the upland. So this is important in that when you get an opinion by the board engineer, the board attorney, those opinions the court does look at. So, you know, I'm cognizant of, you know, your town. If you, I don't give opinions off the cuff, and that in order to give those opinions, you really have to look at and do research on it. I will not be giving opinions by just from the dais. I would say I'd like to research it because they have importance. The court does look at that. If we go a little further, I just want to go to page 10. You go to page 10 where the court said, the party challenge, towards the first paragraph in the middle, the party challenging the municipal board's decision bears the burden of overcoming the presumption of validity and demonstrating that the unreasonableness of the board action. Now, this is spot on, and I think this is what the court today determined in Sparta, that there's a presumption that what you do is correct. You live in town, you know so there's a presumption, and they have to demonstrate, the opposition, that you acted unreasonable. So again, that's the standard the court looks at. Let's go to page 13. In that case, the applicant, the objector said, res judicata is Latin for the justice shall rest. Rest for resting and judicata for justice, so that justice rests. When you make a decision, your decision is considered res judicata. You made the decision, and that should hold, and another board should not be able to change that. That is the law of the property. However, if there's changes to that, change of circumstance, and the applicant, again, down the shore said, the board made the determination that that parking space, that they can't use the north side, that's res judicata. The court said there was a material change, it's not res judicata. So if you deny an application, and the applicant says, I'm coming back with a new application, I've taken 100,000, I'm sorry, I've taken 100 square feet off the building, I've added an additional parking space, I eliminated certain retail, I reconfigured the business, that is a change of circumstance that res judicata would not apply. If they came in and they said, after a denial, we changed the color of the building, that's, the res judicata would apply.
If there's a change in zoning, how does that factor in?
That would be a material change, in my opinion. That requires, that it would not be res judicata. All right, page 16. Accordingly, it is the court's conclusion that the rescission of the parking requirement not only constitutes a change of circumstance, but also constitutes good cause to permit the board to reconsider the restriction. And the court's basically saying, look, it makes sense, it's a good idea. You know, that if there was material change, but also the board should not be restricted from that. Let me just see, I had gone to page 19. Page 19, furthermore, under the Municipal Land Use Act, if no variance is important, if no variance is required, the board must grant approval to the development application that complies with the design standards and other requirements of the municipal ordinances and statutes. And it goes on to say at the bottom, here, in this case, since there was no other variance required, the board correctly struck the 2002 provision restricting the use of the dock. So this is, it's kind of, if there's no variance there, you're hard pressed if they come in with 10 parking spaces and the requirement of parking is 10 spaces, you can't make them do 11 if there's no variance. And that just real quick, let me see what else oh yeah, page 22. This is when people threaten you that the Civil Rights Act that you're not complying with in page 23, due process. And let's say they say, well, you did something different for another property and you didn't give me the same review. On page 23, due process is a flexible and fact-sensitive concept. It demands will be a function of what's reason and justice required under the circumstance. What basically the court said here is just because you granted a variance someplace else doesn't mean that you have to grant it at another location. You have a lot of power and discretion. Use the function of reason and justice. There's a saying that we're coming to it, I think, at the end here. Yes, page 24. Government must turn on square corners. That you'll see here, right here. Our court has defined square corners that the government may not conduct itself so as to achieve or preserve any kind of bargaining or litigation advantage over the property owner. Its primary obligation is to comport itself with compunctional and integrity, and in doing so, government may have to forego the freedom of action that private citizens may employ in dealing with one another. So if I'm dealing with Mark in a mortgage transaction and with two private individuals, that is one standard. We can negotiate what we want. That is not the standard in government, that we have to turn on square corners, and you cannot use personal bargaining or advantage. You have your ordinances, and again, I'll compliment the two Bobs that they were saying that we have this ordinance, why aren't we complying with it? And that's kind of saying we got to turn on square corners. That was at the end. This is one last issue that I thought was in page 25. Bless you. It says the plaintiffs were permitted the opportunity to appear before the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineer permitting process, and were afforded the opportunity to be heard and argue their legal points. So what happened here was the property owner got approval from the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineer because it was in the water. So let's say something's in the Pinelands, something's in the Meadowlands, someone's in the Highland, wherever. And those state agencies grant approval. Those notice requirements go to property owners within 200 feet. Those notices are given to local government. And you had the opportunity to object. And what the court said here was, you're complaining about noise, pollution, line of sight. The proper party was the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineer. That ship has sailed. Local government only has jurisdiction of the uplands. Therefore, there was no violation of due process. There's no violation that you didn't have the opportunity to be heard. You just ignored those notices. So in your preservation areas, in the Highlands, they have very strict rules. If they got approvals in the Highlands, that's, and the municipality took no action, shame on you, because you do get notice of those. All right, gang, we're getting a little later. That was my half an hour dissertation, and there is no test.
Oh, I should have taken notes then.
Education's always good.
Thank you.
Hey, can someone give me that booklet,
Yes.
that packet?
Yes, I gave it to Dory.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. That was very informative. We're going to keep moving on to the update section. First is Town Council. Mark, do you have anything to report? Oh, and there's other, well, I'll skip other board business for next.
Yes, the town council in its last meeting passed ordinance section 62, whereby for health, safety, and welfare, they did not allow additional expansion of the PCED zone due to traffic on Route 15. So what they're saying is that due to health, safety, and welfare, we can't put any more traffic on Route 15. It's already full.
Okay,
Got it.
thank you.
That's it.
Rob, do you have anything for Environmental Commission?
I think we're just continuing on. We have the idea that, I think, that we could try to formalize our application review process on our end and deliver something a little bit closer to what the professionals deliver to the planning board as far as applications go, and we can kind of structure it in such a way that it contains all the obvious things that environmental should be advising on, you know, like environmental assessment, lighting plans, native plants, landscaping, that sort of thing. So that's kind of an in-process idea that we're working on, but it's going to take some time to get it going.
All right, sounds like a great idea.
Thanks.
Thank you. The subcommittees, we have the minor site plan subcommittee, and we are up to date.
Right.
All right, so we, I think we have one new one that just came in, so we'll look at that next time, but otherwise we are up to date. And we'll have to, we did not approve minutes today. We did not have a quorum for the meeting today, but we will get the minutes for the next time. The other one is the master plan subcommittee, and we have a meeting tomorrow, so we're kicking that off again after a delay. And we'll be focusing mainly on the survey. So those are the two updates. I'm going to bounce back because I skipped other board business. Does anybody have any other board business? Okay. That'll take us to resolutions. We have two resolutions to be approved. The first is 2025-5, Planning Board number 24-726, Lake Mohawk MMA. If you had a chance to look at it, would anybody like to make a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion.
Second it.
Seconded? Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Mark Scott,
Yes.
Jeanette Burke. Yes. Ron Day,
Yes.
Robert Bleakley,
Yes.
Brian Zimmerman,
Yes.
Ernie Reichstad,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Robert Otto,
Yeah.
and Chairwoman Joan Furman.
Yes. Okay, the next one is Resolution 2025-7, PB number 24-723, YHK Realty LLC, also known as Pop's Bagels. Would somebody care to make a motion for that resolution?
I'll make a motion on that one.
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that one?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Didn't we decide that this resolution was going to be subject to the Department of Transportation's review of the inbound and outbound traffic there? So.
yes.
So
Is that not in
do
there?
we, no, I'm not saying it's not in there. I honestly.
It's,
I didn't.
they won't be able to do anything until the state of New Jersey gives them a permit for those driveways, for the changes of the driveways, you know. And
Final say.
yeah,
final
they have,
stamp of approval.
yeah, they have to have a final approval from the state of New Jersey.
And no matter what we do.
So,
Okay.
so they won't be able to do anything until they get those from DOT.
Okay. So then if we pass this and they get that DOT approval, then they can just start.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think I was asking some of those questions, and they said, well, it's out of our hands anyway, no matter what we decide.
Yeah, if you look at page 8 of the resolution, it said the applicant shall comply with all other outside agency permit and approval requirements in accordance with the law of the state of New Jersey. So in general, it does talk about that. I'm looking if there's anything additional on here. It does talk about no left turn. It does talk about some other conditions. There were 9 conditions. And again, it ends that the applicant shall obtain governmental approval for any other governmental agencies within the jurisdiction related to the property, included but not limited to the Sussex County Planning Board. But I think the other that I read on number 3, maybe Councilman, what you were saying, the other outside agencies. If you want, and that's not a problem, we can very easily clarify on number 3, the applicant shall comply with all other outside agency permits and approval requirements in accordance with law, say, put comma, more specifically, the Department of Transportation. I could add that if the board so chooses.
Okay,
Yeah, can we put that in?
Yes.
all right, could you amend your Motion, please,
Yeah.
to include that?
Amend the motion to include the wording that
DOT
Councilman
review.
Scott.
Yes.
For DOT review
Okay, is the second
specifically.
also amended? Okay. Is there further discussion on it?
I had one concern, but I found it in the resolution.
Oh.
So I'm good. Oh, good, good.
Okay, we're ready for a roll call?
Councilman Mark Scott,
Yes.
Jeanette Burke. Yes. Ron Day,
Yes.
Robert Blakely,
Yes.
Brian Zimmerman,
Yes.
Ernie Reichstad,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Robert Otto,
Yeah.
Chairwoman Joan Furman.
Yes. Okay, now we're moving on to what's open to the public for comments on matters not on the agenda and matters not related to a hearing on an application for development. Public?
I want to thank the public for coming out tonight.
That's a no then? Okay, thank you. At this point, we cut our executive session short due to the fact that we had gone over in time and the applicant from the Green was waiting. So we want to resume the executive session. Do I have to read it all again, or can we just make a motion to resume?
Make a motion to resume.
Okay, and we may or may not take action on this, but motion to go back into executive session.
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. You want the handouts?
Do you have a time, an estimate?
I'd say
We'll
no
be-
more than 15.
Yeah, we'll be done by 10.
May or may not take action. Oh, my goodness, yes, sorry. It's getting late.
We have one member of the public. Well, we don't know who's listening at home. You know, people with the weather may just have tuned in. You never know. But there are people.
Public is back.
Count as the public? She's the media.
Okay, Board, as the chairperson stated, we are now back in the public session. We had gone into closed session, executive session for discussion of the board planner. There was a discussion as to the same, and memorializing that discussion, there were proposals from Lindsay Knight of Neglia and discussion of the Catherine Sarmaid, also your existing planner. There was discussion of fees. There was discussion of other applicants who were requested who did not submit any proposal. And in the work session, there was a discussion of placing the board planner for the calendar year 2025 to Lindsay Knight of Neglia Engineering at a rate of $165 per hour for municipal board work and $215 per hour for escrow application funding. And then Catherine M. Sarmaid would be your conflict planner and also utilized as assigned to her by the board. That was our discussion.
Okay, is there a motion to approve Lindsay Knight as our board planner and Catherine Sarmad as our conflict planner with the way that Mr. Porro just read it,
The rates as stated.
with the rates as stated?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second.
Mark?
Okay,
Robert
roll
Blakely?
call?
Yes.
Jeanette Burke? Yes. Ron Day?
Yes.
Ernie Reichstad?
Yes.
Councilman Mark Scott?
Yes.
Brian Zimmerman?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Robert Otto?
Yeah.
Chairwoman Joan Furman.
Yes. Okay, that concludes today's meeting. If you'd like to make an adjournment,
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, motion.
you know, I did that. I did do that.
Second that.
Good, good.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jenny, did this thing. He's asking me if I opened it.